like just on the way here, a guy just like took a picture of me, and I got angry. I was like, just ask me. If you ask me, I'll do it.
I think you said this, but one of the big differences persona wise is 10 years ago you were trying to be confident on stage, and now you're more comfortable on stage.
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference between that and how you reached that?
Well, some of it happens because of how I'm perceived has totally changed. And Emily was saying this to me. She's like, when you're doing stand up again, you look different on stage than you used to. And so you have to like be aware of that. So when I was like, a scrawny little guy, I had to like project confidence. And now I kind of have to do the opposite. I kind of have to like hang back. I don't realize I truly feel like exactly the same person I've been always, but the way people perceive me really has changed quite a bit. And so I have to be careful. There are certain things that I can't really do anymore that I used to be able to do on stage. Um, like it's weird. Uh, uh, like if I'm being self-deprecating, I have to be aware of the ways in
Yeah.
which I'm being self-deprecating. Um, and I think, I do feel just more confident as a person anyway. I'm 10 years older. I'm 47 years old now, and I feel more comfortable with who I am. So I don't feel like I need to like be anything but completely myself on stage. I mean, that was the goal for me for a long time. Even when I was doing stand up back then, I was like, I want to be exactly myself on stage. Now, up until the Big Sick, that was a more confident version of me
Mm,
on stage. And now I try and really have it be like just me and
yeah.
not even any exaggerated version of me. I really try it.
You start up top and you address certain things, and one of it is like, don't be weird about the muscles.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think it's interesting because I do think most people be like, oh, he has muscles now. He must be really aware of how people look at him. But it's like all comedians are putting themselves in front of people. Like I think about, like in my brain, it's iconic that you wore like a really loose, schlubby sweatshirt at your Beta Male special,
Yes,
which to
I
me
did that.
also felt like a person being aware of being looked at. And now there's just sort of the converse, but it's
Yeah.
still the same essential thing of like, it's one thing to have muscles on a big screen. It's another thing to like literally be in the same room as your muscles, I imagine. Did you feel that from the audience?
I just felt like as I was writing material, I was like, oh, has to be different because people see me so differently. So there's a lot of stuff that's just not going to work anymore, which is good anyway. Like I'm not trying to recreate what I was. Um, and then I had to find this weird thing where I was like, this is something I want to talk about on stage. So I kind of have to wear something that does show it. Like
Mm,
ideally, I would have liked to have worn a jacket or something on top, but I was like, I have to show this because this is a significant portion of the set, and I
mm.
really want to talk about this stuff. So I had to find this balance of like, all right, I have to show off a little bit so that I can like undercut it and talk about it and all this stuff. So so much of stand up is when you're on stage, how you're being perceived and how you're playing with that perception is
Mm.
such a big part of it.
As you said, before the Big Sick, as a stand-up, you wanted to be some version of open on stage. You want to be who you were on stage. You wanted to be, I think you said, like, my goal is to be naked, whatever that meant, and
Yeah.
like beyond anything else. Then the Big Sick comes out, and you are like regular famous, and not only that Big Sick is your life, and so you have both the same. You have the thing that happens when people are famous, where people feel ownership over your life, and because it is you gave them a part of your
Yeah.
story, you have to, I imagine, that time period, create, okay, this is the sort of divide. And now you're returning to a form
Yeah.
that is not about that divide. How did you figure out what the line was for you?
That's a really good question. I've thought about it a lot. Because, it is true up until the Big Sick. I mean, I was doing Silicon Valley, I was
Yeah.
acting and stuff, but really the job of a comedian is to be exactly the same off and on stage. In some ways, your life is your art too. You're talking about how you really, what you really believe in, all this kind of stuff. And then as I became like normal famous, as you're saying, I don't know how you put it, I realized there has to be a divide between personal and public.
Mm-hmm.
And then going back to stand up, I was like, I can combine those, but I want to do it on my terms. And that's why specifically I talk about certain things that I had not talked about that other people had talked about me.
Mm.
In a way that was an effort at synthesizing parts from my personal life into my public image
Mm.
to make my public image closer to me. Obviously, there are still certain things that that are mine, but I was like, okay, these are the things, because I really had a really intense reaction to sort of being more recognizable, and I kind of retreated.
Mhm.
Especially then when COVID hit, I just completely was like, I got scared of crowds, like just on the way here, a guy just like took a picture of me, and I got angry. I was like, just ask me. If you ask me, I'll do it. You sort of, it's so hard to complain about this. It
It just
genuinely is.
well, it is hard. You don't, it is interesting. I don't. We will. You feel comfortable complaining because it's not complaining. It's just sort of a weird thing that happens to some people.
Yeah.
So I think you should. You don't worry about the complaining thing.
Okay. Well,
People, and many of these people have seen your special, and I feel like you answered those
yeah.
that part of it.
Yeah. So, um, what was I saying? Yeah.
Although you retreated for a while,
I
and then
retreated for a while, and then when I wanted to do stand up again, I was like, all right, there's a lot of like misconceptions about me and perceptions about me. People see me as something that I'm not. A lot of people saw me getting in shape as a betrayal, because my whole thing was like, I was a nerd. I had a podcast about video games. I had a podcast about X Files, and suddenly now I'm muscular, so now I've become a jock or whatever it is. And I really haven't. I'm exactly the same person. You can ask my friends. I really am exactly the same person. Emily and I still play video games all day. Um, and so I was like, okay, a little bit of it was, you guys have been saying all this stuff. Now I want to say stuff about it and own a little bit of that conversation and say my perspective on it. And then people are going to have reactions to that too. That's the other thing. Emily was like, just so you know, when this comes out, it's going to be like another time when people start talking about this stuff. I'm like, yeah, but at least I'll have said what I want to say about it. So it was really, when I retreated, suddenly there was this like image of who I had become, and I had changed, and it had sort of, to me, felt like it had become fact. Like,
Yeah.
oh, Kumail is now a different person. He's changed. He's not one of us anymore. And so this was my way of being like, this is who I really am, and